Hello, welcome to another New Music Monday. I'm Jason, and I'm here with a special guest, Nick May. Hi, Nick. Glad to have you.
Hey, Jason. I'm really glad to be here.
You might recognize Nick from a couple months ago here at TRS. He joined us for our Camp Shabbat. You may know him from camps, from youth group, from the many places that he brings his music around Northern Virginia and beyond. And, you know, we're just glad to have you sharing a little bit about what Jewish music is to you and a couple of songs for us. So I'm going to start really broadly. Like, why? Why do you like doing this Jewish music thing? What about it, like, does it for you?
Yeah, so some background about me for people who might not know is that I actually have a speech impediment. I've stuttered ever since I was a small child, and like music has always been something that connected to me in a way that nothing else could. Both my parents play music. My dad studied classical guitar in college. He's played with several bands. He's played festivals. He's played weddings. He's opened for Earth, Wind, and Fire. Like, he's done all these really cool things in the music world. He's not Jewish. And then you have my mom, who was a cantorial soloist for 30 plus years. Again, all this was happening in the in a very musical culture. So I'm from New Orleans originally. Actually, quick side story. I've known Cantor Shockett for years. He and my mom used to sing together in this band called B'nai Yisrael. He's the one that actually married me and my wife. So having him here, it was a huge help for me. And I decided to move up here from New Orleans. But so like, I was surrounded by music growing up. It was everywhere I went. I would sing to myself. I would hear music. I would move. I would be moved. And you know, it wasn't until I started going to Jewish summer camp that I really fell in love with Jewish music.
Sure, relatable.
Yeah. So I spent 14 years going to Henry S. Jacobs Camp, which is the URJ camp. It's in Utica, Mississippi. It serves the Deep South, and my favorite part of every summer was always the song sessions. And you know, I was, you know, the camp was blessed to have many really strong songwriters growing up. We actually had Steve Dropin for a long time as our like head song leader. We would always have people come in to do concerts. You know, the highlights of my summer would be seeing people like Dan Nichols, Noam Katz, Rick Recht, Alan Goodis. All of these Jewish rock stars came to perform for us and sing with us, and like they would always stay and like do programming to make them feel relatable, and that's something that I always saw myself in. Like, if that makes sense, like I would, getting the chance to know them as people helped me to love their music even more, and like I vividly remember, you know, the highlight of my year outside of camp, of course, was actually getting the Ruach CDs and the songbooks. You know, some people listened to pop radio in their cars. Some people listened to tape cassettes when I was a kid. And for me, it was Dan Nichols, Debbie Freeman, Rick Recht, that on top of acts like James Taylor, Earth, Wind, and Fire, Tower of Power, a very broad musical taste. And you know, it wasn't until I was in college that I was like, oh, like this can be a career, this can be a thing, this can be something that I do because like I already love doing it. Why not make it my life's work? And so I've been song leading at camps, youth groups, synagogues, for over 10 years now. And in terms of my own music, I mean, I don't know about you. I don't know about our viewers here, but Hebrew is not my first language, and
No, certainly not.
and so for me, once I realized I could help convey the meaning of the prayer through the music, that's when my creativity started to really explode and be like, well, but if we sang this prayer like this, but if we took this prayer that we usually sing in synagogue and we rework it to to fit a program and to teach something, but at the heart of it all, Jewish music is where I feel closest to God. It's where I feel my spirituality the most. It's where I feel the most Jewish. It's where I'm the happiest. It's where I feel like I can communicate the most clearly, because it is.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously certainly have a similar disposition. I remember, I think it was probably in middle school or high school or something. We're sitting there, we got like a chance to listen to some music on our iPods if we wanted to, because there was a substitute. I just remember the sub coming over and asking one, like, what are you listening to? And I was like, oh, Jewish rock. Because I'm like listening to Dan Nichols on my iPod, which, I can't say I'm doing as regularly as when I was in high school, but I remember not even being fazed by it. I wasn't embarrassed by it at all. I was just like, it's Jewish rock. It's like, it's rock, but it's Jewish. And that's, similar to you. I grew up going to Jewish sleepaway camp. I grew up at Camp Harlem. I'm curious, jumping back in time to that, was there like a particular either song leading mentor or song leading or music personality person that in your prime growing up days influenced you or inspired you, or that you just enjoyed interacting with the most in that camp space?
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of really influential, strong song leaders come through. The one that's most obvious is obviously Dan Nichols. Like he is someone that I've tried to model my song leading after for years, like as long as I've done this. But, the one camp song leader that we would see every single day that had the most impact on me, I haven't spoken to him since this summer when I was a child, but his name was Robbo. And he always had so much energy. He would be like jumping up and down, jumping on tables. He would be engaging with every single person in that dining hall. And also he was just so kind, and he wasn't afraid to wear his, wear his feelings on his sleeve. I remember specifically one song session. I don't even remember what year it was. It might have been 2003. It was a summer where things in Israel were becoming quite hectic. And I want to say he had a friend or someone who he knew pass away as a result of bombings in Israel. And it was one song session. He sang Yih'yu, and he just broke down in tears. And that's a moment that's always stuck with me, but I've never really thought back on. Just like not being afraid to be vulnerable has really helped shape me not only as a songwriter, but also as a person.
Yeah, I've always said one of the like key elements to being a successful song leader is who you are outside of when you're leading song. Like, do the people that you're leading with have, even if it's not a relationship with you, even if it's the first time you walk into that space, what is their perception of you? What is the thing that you're giving off as a just as a person before you start trying to sing with them? And if you're being someone like you're describing, who's emotionally with it and vulnerable and honest and true, I can't imagine a better way to grow up having that kind of person leading everyone in music. Because when you want to be high, that you can get you high, and when you want to be low, that can get you low. And if you don't have that connection to, like, this is a person who's leading this music, not just a human metronome, I think that's a huge part of what makes being a good song leader possible. And Bravo, if you're out there listening, thank you for not just Nick, but probably hundreds and hundreds of kids that grew up getting to have that kind of musical experience at camp. You mentioned a little bit ago, the Ruach CDs were one of the places that you were going to listen to some of your favorite Jewish music. You were on one of these Ruach CDs recently. They're these like great compilation albums of contemporary Jewish songs. The people who are right now making what's popular in camps and synagogues are just the people that are, fresh and awesome in the Jewish music world. And tell us a little about what that song was that was on one of these albums recently.
Yeah, so it's a setting of Yih'yu comes at the end of our personal silent prayers in the middle of the tefillah. It's before we start that ride down the mountain, and Joey Weissenberg has a metaphor of tefillah being like a ladder. So you start with like the grounding blessings, and then you work your way up into the tefillah, and you work your way back down, and so this prayer comes out like it comes at the start of that descent from the holy back into ourselves, and kind of a hot take here, but most of the times at the end of this section of prayer, you'll hear people sing one of the thousands of settings for Oseh Shalom. I prefer to end with Yih'yu. It is, like I've said before, it's our personal, private time to pray and to have that connection and to have that conversation with God, or that conversation with yourself. And to me, Yih'yu is still, it's still quite personal. And then as we sing it together, to me, it symbolizes us as a community coming around to support each other as people. And we go into Oseh Shalom. To me, it seems like it's a very quick jump from the personal back to all of us as a whole global Jewish community, which I don't have a problem with. This is just a smoother flow out of that personal time for me.
Yeah. I like to think about it. I feel the same way, where I like to end tefillah with Yih'yu, because you have Adonai Svatay Tiftach at the beginning saying, hey God, can you open my mouth so I can say these prayers? That's like the opening benediction, And then you have Yih'yu as kind of like the closing capstone of, okay, all those things I just prayed, let them be heard, let them come to be. Thanks.
Right. Yeah, and so this melody came about when I was working at a synagogue back home in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where I would just start to noodle and to signify that we were about to come out of this quiet time, to come back together, and like most of the melodies that I play during that time, I don't even like remember. And then one day I just started going, and then I was like, oh, that's something right there. I didn't even intend for it to be like Yih'yu, it just kind of worked itself out that way. I'm very much a melody, like music first kind of person, and then I find a prayer that works for that, and then it's kind of like, for lack of a better term, copy and paste. This is one of those melodies that just fit this prayer like a glove, both in meaning and also in like the melody itself, like it fits the words like so well. And for me, I've always wanted to write something to this prayer because as a person who stutters, I'm very aware that it's not just the words of my mouth that matter, it's my intention. It's the words that I'm not physically able to say that mean just as much, if not more, than the words that actually come out. It's, something that you said earlier is really blowing my mind right now, just as a, like, to step out of this space and just like look at the ether kind of thing. You had said that Ruach was like the place where we go to find popular Jewish music, and to me, to think that something that I wrote as being popular is very overwhelming and very satisfying. Not that I do this to be popular, but to think that something that I recorded in my friend's apartment during COVID could resonate with people enough to be included. It's a very good feeling.
And deserved.
Thank you. All right. So this is Yih'yu song. where
all of the thought, even if it's unconscious, like went into making it what it is. I'm a big noodler too, and a lot of the ways that my melodies come to be are from noodling, or from like hearing either other music and being like, ooh, I like that chord progression. What's like a different variation on it? Or I hear the birds chirping and the wind blowing. There's a melody in my head that way, and so I can relate to the sometimes it's just coming from the ether. You're not looking for the song, but when it's there, it's right. And especially with this text and with the whole purpose of To Feel As You described it, I love that. Something I'm curious about. We talked a lot about the why did you become the person that wants to do this? But what is it when you're doing the work, when you're sharing the music, you're leading the song? What is it that you hope people are getting out of that music? What is the way that you're hoping folks are feeling or going into the world after?
Yeah, that's a really good question. One of my favorite things, specifically at camp, I love the last night of camp, singing and hearing multitudes, if not the entire camp, just bawling crying. It's one of my favorite things, and like actually I get a lot of hate for it sometimes because it's like Nick, like, why do you want to make children cry? And it's like, no, and it's not that I want to make them cry, it's that there's two things. One, when kids and counselors and me, when we cry on the last night of camp, it's because this summer meant something. And there are certain songs that you play on the last night of camp that either are a callback to this summer or to summers past, and like certain songs get an audible reaction as soon as you start playing them.
Oh yeah.
And to me, that tells me that song means something to them. Outside of camp, I love when an experience, whether I'm singing, teaching, supporting, I love making people think of old things in new ways, and I love making people feel things. Because this is a very emotionally vulnerable job that we have. We hold a lot of space for a lot of people, and to have that work be, thinking of the right word, to have that work be validated, whether that feedback is shared directly with us or not, to have that work be validated is the most rewarding thing to me. One of my favorite things to do as a song leader is to stop singing and to listen to everyone else.
Yeah.
Because that's when community is built, and that's what I believe our job is more to create community than to sing songs.
Right.
We use music as a tool, and whenever I'm teaching, whenever I'm playing, whenever I'm sharing, I am sharing the evidence from my past experiences. And to show that I'm also open to hearing from the crowd or from from the community. I shouldn't say crowd. It's something that makes all this worth it to me. So the story behind this one was I This wasn't written in a sanctuary. It was actually written in a bedroom, and I was just, actually, this song was written on a 6-string banjo. And I was just kind of noodling around, and I found this sound that on a banjo sounds really good. It was like, like it sounds like it should be done with, like a Nefesh Mountain kind of group, like a very like country, like bluegrass, like Joe Buchanan kind of vibe. And I don't remember the thought process of why I made it to this prayer. I think it was, if I remember correctly, after playing through that several times, I was like, oh, I'm like the one Jewish songwriter that doesn't have an Oseh Shalom. Let's just do that. And like surprisingly, whenever you hear certain interviews with certain artists, they're like, this song I didn't expect to be as popular as it is. This is that song for me, because personally, I love my Shiru, I love Be Heard, I love so many things, and like as it relates to the rest of my music, it's this one that gets played the most on Spotify. It's the one that I see gets used the most on J License, and like especially at this point in time, there can never be enough voices asking and yearning for peace. Oseh Shalom, Bimromav, Yaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel,
Amen. Certainly use a little more shalom, a little more peace. Well, thanks so much for sharing your music, for sharing your wisdom, your experience, and thanks for coming by.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me again, and thank you for letting me tell my story and be heard.
Absolutely. Anything in particular that you want to share, plug, tell us about in our parting words?
Well, currently my website is under construction, so we're doing a complete rehaul. So I don't have a website for you yet. However, I can be found on Instagram at Nick_May_music. I can be found on Facebook, Nick May Music. I can be found on Spotify, YouTube, not so much on Apple Music, but that's fine. And I hope to see you all in the community, on the road, here, there, everywhere soon.